History isn't just about kings, wars, and empires. It's also about how people were punished, often in ways too cruel to believe. These torture methods weren't just about death. They were about dragging it out, turning execution into a public nightmare. Here are some of the most disturbing punishments in history, some so terrifying they were banned forever. Scaphism, the boat torture. This nightmare began in ancient Persia under the rule of King Artaxerxes II. Around 400 BC, scaphism was saved for traitors, rebels, or blasphemers. People who dared to defy the king or question the gods. The condemned was stripped naked and sandwiched between two wooden canoes or boats, with only their head, arms, and feet sticking out. Then came the milk and honey, force-fed until the person vomited and defecated inside the boat. They smeared the same mixture all over the body to attract insects, and once the bugs came, they never left. Flies laid eggs in every sore, worms bred in the flesh, maggots tunneled into skin. Some were kept alive for over a week, screaming under the sun, while insects ate them from the inside out. Scaphism wasn't just execution, it was a lesson in suffering for anyone who dared cross the Persian throne. Lynchy, death by 1,000 cuts. Lynchy, or death by 1,000 cuts, was practiced for centuries in imperial China, especially under the Tang, Song, and Ming dynasties. It was reserved for the worst crimes imaginable, like high treason, parricide, killing one's parents, or murdering your own master. The executioner didn't rush. Victims were tied to a wooden frame, their upper body exposed. With a sharp blade, the torturer made dozens, sometimes hundreds of tiny cuts, starting with soft flesh, the chest, thighs, shoulders. The crowd watched. Some cheered, others fainted. Opium was sometimes given, not to ease pain, but to keep the victim awake longer. It was more than just killing. It was about desecrating the body, making sure the soul couldn't rest. The practice was finally outlawed in 1905 when China moved toward modern legal reforms. But the legacy of lynchy still haunts Chinese history. Sawing in half. This horrifying method appeared in Europe during the Middle Ages, but was also seen in parts of Asia and the Ottoman Empire. It was typically used against thieves, adulterers, apostates, and even Christian martyrs under Muslim rule. The condemned was hung upside down, ankles bound, legs spread. Gravity kept them conscious longer as blood rushed to the head. A massive, crude two-man saw began its work, starting from the groin. Bone, muscle, intestines. Nothing slowed it down. Some victims remained alive until the saw reached their abdomen or chest. It was a public display, done in markets, town squares, or on the steps of temples. The message was loud and clear. Your crime won't be forgotten, and neither will your suffering. Perhaps most disturbingly, this punishment wasn't always used by law. In some places, it was a tool of revenge, or used during religious persecutions to break the will of enemies. The blood eagle, Norse ritual from Viking sagas. The blood eagle is one of the most legendary and horrifying executions described in Norse sagas, especially from the 9th to 11th centuries. It was reserved for traitors, oath-breakers, or those who killed a Viking's father, like the famous tale of King Ella of Northumbria, who allegedly killed the Viking hero Ragnar Lothbrok. In revenge, Ragnar's sons captured Ella and performed the blood eagle. The victim was tied face down, his back was sliced open, and the ribs were broken near the spine, then pulled outward like wings. The lungs were yanked out and draped over the rib wings, giving the image of a bloody eagle in flight. Salt was sometimes packed into the wounds to prolong the agony. While some historians debate whether the blood eagle was real or symbolic, Norse texts describe it as a sacrifice to Odin, and real or not, its fear alone was enough to control enemies and preserve Viking honor. The lead sprinkler, Spanish Inquisition, and medieval Europe. During the Spanish Inquisition, a reign of terror began that lasted from the late 1400s to the 1800s, punishing those who dared to defy the church. Jews, Muslims, heretics, and anyone accused of witchcraft. One of their favorite tools? A simple-looking device called the lead sprinkler. It was a hollow metal bulb with holes in the top, mounted on a long handle. Inside it, torturers poured boiling oil, melted lead, or burning tar. Then they drip it onto the chest, the stomach, the eyes, the tongue. Just enough to cause excruciating pain, but not kill. Not yet. The victim would beg to confess, even if innocent. Some had their faces destroyed, their tongues burned out, or their skulls shattered from trauma. It wasn't about guilt. It was about fear, obedience, and absolute power. The lead sprinkler wasn't used for justice. It was used to silence entire communities. These punishments weren't just about ending a life. They were about breaking the spirit, destroying the body, and sending a message that obedience was survival. History is filled with glory and beauty, but it's also soaked in blood and cruelty. If you found this shocking, there's more where that came from. Hit subscribe, and don't forget, the darkest stories are the ones that actually happened.